So I'm going to start off. So Paul, I'm going to start off with this is Paul. So I'm going to start off with a reading, and it's a bit of an old faithful, but I'll crack on anyway. So this is on page 63. When we sincerely, from the big book, page 63 from the big book, when we sincerely took such a position, all sorts of remarkable things followed. We had a new employer. Being all powerful, he provided what we needed. If we kept close to him and performed his work well. Established on such a footing, we became less and less interested in ourselves, our little plans and designs. More and more, we became interested in seeing what we could contribute to life, as we felt new power flow in, as we enjoyed peace of mind, as we discovered we could face life successfully, as we became conscious of his presence. We began to lose our fear of today, tomorrow, or the hereafter. We were reborn. And I'll just do the final paragraph there. We were now at step 3. Many of us said to our maker, as we understood him, God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. We thought well before taking this step, making sure we were ready, that we could at last abandon ourselves utterly to him. And look at that, he's disappeared. There we go. So sit here. Yeah, you sit there. So I'll put you there.
That good? Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Right, over to you, Paul.
All right, well, hand me this. Thanks, everybody, and Paul Alcoholic, welcome. I'm used to looking at the iPad, so one sentence that when he was reading it, where is this? The idea, can you hear me? Yeah, hear me? Good, all right. This statement, established in such a footing, we became less and less interested in ourselves. You could say you get less and less interested in self. Yeah, I don't see self as ourselves. So, yeah, this is, they're describing some of the effects that will happen when you sincerely take the position of reliance on something greater than yourself. At least make a decision to go that direction. And then after a while in the program, you'll get established in that. And then the effects are quite monumental, where we felt that new power flow in. Yeah. It feels great when you've been powerless for so long and there's been a denial around that, to actually have some juice come through. And when you make a commitment, you keep it. And when you say you're going to do something, you do something. These to me are all examples of having some power or some wind in the sail now. But let me start from the thing here. When we sincerely took such a position, all sorts of remarkable things followed. Again, actually, the paragraph before, this is the how, why of it. We got to quit playing God. It didn't work. Now, a lot of us have attempted to quit playing God as that which is playing God. We've been in the act of being identified as that which is playing God. And when we attempt to quit playing God as that, that's playing God. You can't get out of it. It just will go on ad infinitum. There's no break, because that which is playing God can't stop playing God. You have to see, you don't have to, you can see that you're not that. And therefore, the power that used to go into that thing that was playing God now goes into your life. Yes. Yeah. So this is obviously the main principle of AA, but the importance of quit playing God, it precedes it. So in a linear process, first would be more important than next, in a way. All right, then when we sincerely took such a position, all sorts of things, of remarkable things followed. We had a new employer. Well, obviously that implies we had an old employer. Yeah, and I feel a lot of what the fourth step and the fifth step is seeing the manifestations of the old employer in your life, because employ means to use. And in a sense, we're always being used. Yeah. And so the old employer, the new employer being all powerful, which is really, that's the rub right there. The old employer doesn't have any power. It usurps ours or sucks ours up. The new employer is the epitome of power in a way. So he provided what we needed if we kept close to him and performed his work well. I have had that experience for 33 years. Who am I to deny that? Yeah. He provided what we needed, yes. If we kept close to him, we can't be far from him if he's everywhere. So you can't be out of its zip code, wherever you think you may be, or wherever your head thinks you may be. And performed his work well. They're not describing specifically what his work is. You know, there's principles and suggestions we follow, but the work of this power can be quite revelatory. You'll be used most of the time when you don't know you're being used, really. So it's a pretty simple, the deal is you're going to be taken care of if you stay close to it. You can't be far from it. And you perform its works well. That's a pretty large space. Yeah. And who's going to be grading your performance? Not that which is playing God. Yeah. 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 You've already failed up from that point of view. You're never going to break the conviction rate you're under. You've been convicted already. Established on such a footing. What is that footing? Obviously, reliance on something greater than self. Established on such a footing, we became less and less interested in ourselves. That's it, really. That's really, that's like when you're being bled out and the infection is leaving. Yeah, is your less and less interest in self. Yeah, and then obviously it says we became less and less interested in ourselves, our little plans and designs. I like how we put that jab in with the little before plans and designs, because when they were mind plans and designs, they always were pretty big. Yeah, more and more, meaning more is going to be revealed. More and more, we became interested in seeing what we could contribute to life. Everyone who's in these squares, who's gone through this, has an intimate sense of this because it's happened. It's happening with them now. You know, it did happen and it's happening. More and more, we became interested in seeing what we could contribute to life. As we felt new power flow in, yeah. That's sort of like taking a shower after you haven't had one in a while, or being under a waterfall. You feel like a new power flow in. As we felt new power flow in, as we enjoyed peace of mind. So basically, I feel peace of mind is available, but either we're in the conditions that allow us to enjoy it or we're not. Yeah. And I think losing interest in self leads you to that condition of being able to enjoy peace of mind. And then having an excessively obsessive interest in self, you're entertaining agitation, really. So as we felt new power flow in, as we enjoyed peace of mind, as we discovered we could face life successfully. Now, I always tell a story about this. From my early days of sobriety. I went to my first AA dance, which was my last AA dance, and feeling incredibly uncomfortable and drinking a lot of Calistoga. And I was on the men's side, and then there was like a like a basketball floor, and then the women were on the other side. It was like in some auditorium, and nothing was happening. The disco ball was moving and there was music, but no one was dancing. And we were all huddled together in our separate genders. And so my friends and I was appointed scout, and I went across because there was a woman I had been interested in, but I was too afraid to say anything because of the fear of rejection. So the fear of rejection just had me not doing anything really. So I went over there armed with this new power that was flowing in me, having a new employer. I walked over there and I asked this girl I was interested in to dance, and she said no. Yeah, so I faced rejection, and I turned around, and now the disco ball seemed like a spotlight, and I was walking like over a minefield to get back to the men's side. But I recognized I could face life successfully. I was rejected by someone I liked and wanted approval from, and it didn't kill me, nor did it lead me to drink. So this was the beginning of many, 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 many attempts in life, and I found most of them worked out successfully. Even though they may not have seemed to be successful at the time, they proved to be really valuable as I went on in the program. So as we became conscious of his presence, I think that's really the spiritual awakening. That's what gets sort of stabilized. There may be craziness and you may be conscious of anxiety and stuff like that, but there's an underlying sense of being conscious of its presence, yeah? No matter what's going on, and because basically to get back to it doesn't take any time. No matter how far you thought you went down on a train of thought, as soon as you get off, it's like you were never on it, yeah? It's because it's always available at all times, right where we are. That sense, that conscious presence. And I would say that's the real establishment that allows emotional sobriety and everything else. That's like the great equalizer or the balancer, is when we're not looking for shit to give us what they can't give us. Yeah, like to me, a lot of my life, I was expecting a half-ton pickup to deliver a ton of stuff. It just wasn't. It didn't work. So as we felt new power flow in, as we enjoyed peace of mind, as we discovered we could face life successfully, as we became conscious of his presence, we began to lose our fear of today, tomorrow, or the hereafter. When you begin something, it usually ends, yes? I say. So we began to lose our fear. And I think a lot of people right now here have lost their fear of today, tomorrow, and the hereafter. They may have some every once in a while, but basically they've lost that ever-present undercurrent of anxiety and anxiousness. And if they haven't, they have a great thing to look forward to, because if you stay with this program, this is one of the effects. Yeah. So we began to lose our fear of today, tomorrow, and the hereafter. We were reborn. Wow, that's pretty incredible. This is only on page 63. We're already reborn. So reborn, what does it mean? Yeah. Maybe it means the beginning of a new attitude and a new outlook, a new freedom and a new happiness. Basically, in a way, let's say you came to as Paul, and you've only looked in one direction. Now you can see a lot of directions, yeah? You've been freed from self-centeredness to an extent that your life can become more panoramic, not so myopic. And, many of us, I don't have a feeling of irritable restlessness and discontent, except for David being here in my house. And but other than that, I know he's going to leave, hopefully quickly. So it's going to pass. But
Awesome.
Yeah. So we are now at step 3. That's what it says. So I think we are. I think a lot of us are way past step 3. The spirit of step 3 is always with us, but yeah, I think recovery progresses. Some of us have been involved in it 40 years, 50 years. I'm not saying anything about the founders, but the most they've had sobriety was 4 years at most when the book came out, 39. A lot more was going to be revealed to the people who come after us. Yeah. And so I would say we're the people who came after them. And so maybe some shit's revealed. And I feel the sense of recognizing self as other, and it doesn't matter if it is or not, it's just a little trick in a way. Recognizing self as other allows a possibility of being free from it. Yeah. It doesn't mean it's going to go completely away or whatever, or it's going to stay. It's just going to be right sized. Yeah. I think it's a little bit, blown up. It's a little bit dominating the whole theater. Yes. And so, seeing self as other is given to us on page 64. I don't see how you can read that sentence to mean anything else. It's giving you the spirit or the theme of how to do an inventory, which is we're going to look at self's common manifestations. How do we look at them? We write them down. It says, resentment, fears, harms done to others. The looking at them in this case means writing it down, putting it on paper, and then seeing how self defeated us by recognizing its manifestations. Because in fact, self is a movement. There's no thing called self. There's no 6'8" thing that's captured you. When we're dancing with the gorilla, we don't see the gorilla, but it's like gorilla-like. Yeah. But if you see the picture, it's only you dancing. But we know better. We know we're dancing with a gorilla, even though if you saw a picture of it, we'd be alone on the floor, the dance floor, but we're not. Something has moved in. Yeah. And it has a gorilla-like power over us. Yeah, you're not going to see a gorilla, and there is no self. It's an activity, a mental one. I try to put it in the term of selfing, which is that which is talking to us, says we already are something that we may never was or may never be. Yeah, this idea of being a long-lasting, independent, separate thing that has all this power and shit like that, when constantly our experience demonstrates the opposite. We're powerless and stuff. So, this is the one, thing we're putting in there, because for me, I just didn't hear it in the community. Yeah, I didn't get an instruction when I did the inventory to look at self's common manifestations. I got the instruction of looking at my resentments, my fears, and my acting out, looking at the sexual behavior. That's what I got. And most people I knew got past the same thing. And yet I walked in there with my resentments, my fears, and my acting out, and I left with my resentment, my fears. It was like going through a car wash without any soap. I didn't get to the exact nature of the wrong. It didn't get washed away. I didn't even notice it when I came out. I had the same basic stance that all this shit's mine. Yeah. And it isn't. It says, and the big book says it right there, being convinced that self manifested in various ways is what has defeated us. We're the us. Yeah. That means these aren't our manifestations, they're selves. He claims he details it perfectly. And then they actually describe the common ones of self: resentment, fears, and harming people in pursuit of what it wants. Yeah. You can't be clearer of an instruction. How does it become mine so quickly? It's incredible. There's just like we said the other day at a meeting, there's only about 1/8 of an inch of white between the end, which is common manifestations, and resentment. Yet my slips in there. My gets in there, and it seems to continue on and on and on. Yeah. People are still getting whacked by guilt and shame based on shit they believe, their head believes, and tells them constantly that you did all that shit. Yet their experience was something was driving them. Like it says about the 100 forms of fear. We're driven by 100 forms of fear. it sure sounds like we're not the driver of the 100 forms of fear. It's not like we're riding 100 crazy horses called the 100 forms of fear. It sort of sounds like we're running in front of them. We're being driven by them, almost like when you drive some cattle in a state, a cattle thing. You drive the cattle into a pen. Well, it looks like we were driven into a state of fucking incomprehensible, pitiful demoralization. You're gonna tell me I drove in there personally? Give me a freaking break. I just don't see it that way. So thanks.
Wow. Okay, so thanks very much, Paul. I'll just say, so just so just to say, you now, if anyone's got any questions, please raise your hand. I've got a question that I'll embarrass myself with if nobody's got one. So it's good to see everyone there, and hi, Jackie. So on the weekend, we've just had a retreat this weekend, and it was really interesting, and it was fascinating to be here with you and to hear you answering a lot of questions and stuff on the non-duality stuff and the 12-step stuff. And a question was asked about your interpretation of love, and I was fascinated by that. And just bear with me on the difference between love and grace in AA is that, for me, like when we get sober, there seems to be a plan. Like it's almost like there is some sort of predestination, is that when we get sober and we start on this trek through AA, there does seem to be some kind of force that gets us there. And it kind of flew a little bit in the face of what you said about love in terms of, I don't know, I guess it's everyone's definition of love. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean?
Well, you're saying grace.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, grace and love. And I'm just...
I may have said that about grace. I just don't say that about love.
So what's the difference?
I see grace as just an ever-present form. It may not move you through hugs and stuff, but it will move you. Yeah. So I don't know, because see, again, love has so many definitions. Too many bells ring when I hear that word.
So it's
too many bells ring when I hear that word. Yeah, it has a lot of meaning. Yeah, in our society, I'd rather stay away from it.
You mean in the same sense that people use the word God and there's connotations to the word God? Is that the same?
I think there's more connotations with love, actually.
Oh yeah.
In some circles, yes, I do. I think it has more meaning that I'm not in agreement with. Yeah.
So what if we distill down that word love? What's your understanding of what this is about? Well, no, forgetting the word love, but what is the grace? Aren't they the same sort of thing as what we're talking about? The grace
is to bring about you to a point of being maximum use, to see your role in a larger sense, in a larger picture, your role as a role with many, not you being spotlighted every step of the movie. Yeah, that's what Grace's drive is. Grace isn't to get me a house in Malibu. No. Grace is to make me able to be a demonstration for other people of that power and that love and stuff like that. Just like it says in the third step, please relieve me of the bondage of self. It doesn't say so I can have a house in Malibu. It says so I can be a better use to other people. That's grace. Yeah. That's the energy. So, and
we're tapping in, because I've heard you. One of the things I really like, even before we met and even before we started doing these things, it was, you had. I think I heard you describe that it's not. You don't see it as a spiritual malady. It's a mental malady in terms of alcoholism. Is that?
Yes. Yeah. The problem resides in the mind. The problem does not reside in the spirit.
We just block it. We block it off.
Just listen to it. A spiritual malady. I don't think there's a spiritual malady. It's a mental malady around spirit, let's say. Yeah. The malady around the mental malady is you thinking you're a mental something. And in fact, you are spirit. Yeah. That's the malady. Does spirit have a malady? No, I don't see so. I don't feel so. It's not a thing. It's an activity, but also a stillness where the head is just activity. It's a different beast altogether. Yeah, and I feel if you want to look at what's first and what comes later, I think we have it opposite. We think we're physical beings. Yeah. having a spiritual experience, but we're a spirit having a physical experience. I would say I'm in that group. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So these ideas, grace is a word that vaguely points at the sense of being moved and something doing for you what you couldn't do for yourself. And you may have a self-centered narrative that it's all about you, but it ain't. Yeah, it's about you being a maximum use. And when you're a maximum of use to others, you're also maximum use to yourself. That's the win-win of this place. Whereas the win-lose of the self-centeredness, it's all about you. Yeah, so for me to win, you got to lose in some respects. Yes?
Man.
They're quite different. So love, I don't care about the name word, feel it. That's the point. Yeah, and grace, have you been moved or not? And did it tell you, oh, you're the chosen one and you're special and I want you to stand away and above all others? No, it basically seems to come with a big dose of humility. Yeah, because it tells you, you are the way, what you're seeing through is myopic. Yeah. What you're taking yourself to be is a mistake. Yeah, you should have some fucking humility so that you can accept that. So that basically when love comes, you won't judge it by the package. You'll just receive it, the delivery, because you have faith in that which is delivering it. Yeah. So you go through all that. I remember, I felt like I needed something, but my head had very, very strong ideas of the dimension of the package, how it should be wrapped. Yes. Yeah. And basically I missed a lot of the deliveries because of that. I was expecting to see it in a certain way and it didn't come that certain way. So what happened? Should I give up the idea of the deliveries? No, I'm open to give up that certain way I thought they should come. Yeah. So then again, certain way, myopic view, open to see how it shows up, panoramic view. Yeah. Trusting the finite self, myopic, trusting the infinite, more open. Yeah. Trusting the finite self, very limited possibilities, and definitely defined by time. Oh, I could be okay if I do da. Yes. Trusting the infinite, a sense of ease and comfort now. Yeah. Completely different employees, employers, completely different. Yeah. Yeah. Now, the one thing is the old employer, you were identified as. Yeah. Yes. The new employer, you are really. I would say you are the higher power, to tell you the truth. I don't think you need to identify with the higher power. When push comes to shove, if something is always available at all times right where you are, maybe you're it. Yeah, maybe you're not what you're thinking you are. Maybe you are that, which is always available at all times right where you are. Yeah. No matter what your conditions are, because they're not your conditions, you are the condition. Yeah. Which is condition. The condition is, we call it spiritual condition. That's the condition. There's a lot of other conditions, but usually those conditions attributed to they're yours or they're about you. And then the spiritual condition is something you want to arrive at. I think it's the exact opposite. I think we are a spiritual condition and we're not mental and emotional conditions. Yeah, we're having them, but really in most cases, they're having us. We're having them. If you were having them, I think you would order some different ones. It seems like they have you. You're not sitting there having a menu. Oh, I'd like to have this condition served today at 7. You don't have any power.
Sorry, I see Joe C's got his hand up. I just want to follow up a little bit on that. But I always find it interesting that service, like the whole thing with AA, about service and about helping other people and stuff is kind of a prerequisite of that grace. And it's interesting how that works.
It's not a prerequisite of grace.
Well, I don't know. I'm just saying, it's like, isn't AA and NA and all the different fellowships all about, we learn to help other people as opposed to being self-centered?
Yes, because that takes us out of the self-centeredness. And that makes us available, but you don't earn grace. No, you don't earn grace. What you do is you convince yourself to receive it because you've got such a fucking crazy idea of yourself. At that point, you got to prove to that old employer that you're doing better. So you do esteemable acts, and you have to, it's basically a program of convincing yourself to be okay, or allow yourself to be freaking okay. Yeah. But when the okayness is given, it's freely given, for sure. You don't earn shit. If you did, it's a great deal, because you do maybe 1% and you get 20% back. That's a great fucking
Good deal.
that's damn good investment.
That is.
Yeah. It says, when, are you willing to go to any lengths? It doesn't define what lengths they will be. A lot of times there are no lengths that you're willing to go. Don't have to go anywhere.
Just falls in your feet.
Hey, I sounded so many times, people would call me late at night and they'd want me to help pick some guy up, and I was willing to do that. And then they called me 5 minutes later, oh, we got someone else. So I got all the kudos without any effort.
Brilliant.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So I feel a lot of it is still, you're still trying to convince self, and it's necessary because you're in its occupation. It's got you. So, all right, I've got to go through some hoops. Well, which is what? I've got to do esteemable acts to feel esteemable. Okay, here you go. Yeah. But in a way, I feel it's mostly a convincing Paul as the gatekeeper, to let Paul as the one trying to get out of the gate to go out. Yeah. It says, well, it keeps telling me you're the same old, but the evidence is different now. No, I'm fucking not drinking. I'm not using. I'm doing this. I'm available to others. You start feeling a little better about yourself. Yeah. Yeah. The light gets in and you realize the light gets out, really. Yeah. That's how I see it. So
I guess what I'm saying is just remarkable that this is the way it works, is that there's that grace comes in, when we get sober, like it says, we have a new employer and stuff.
grace
like
was
that.
there before sober.
Mhm.
Yeah, you should have been dead probably.
should
I
be.
would have
Or in
imagined
jail.
you'd get your ass kicked quite a lot.
No, I used to do the ass kicking.
So grace was working.
Grace, yeah, it was great.
Grace was working.
I was the king ass kicker. That's right.
There you go. Grace was working. So it doesn't start, 1988, grace appeared. That's a little self-centered.
I showed up, I rocked up here to see you and to say all this stuff, and all I get back is a load of flack. It's just, unbelievable. Hey, it's been great. Listen, so we've got a few hands up here now, Paul. So let me. So we've got Joe. You had your hand up first,
The
mate.
dogs right here.
Joe, you were there. Oh, sorry, Joe. I'm going to ask you to unmute. I know you had your hand up. So over to you, Joe. Do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, my name is Joe, recovered alcoholic. Paul,
Where's the ball?
Sorry.
thanks for your
Yeah,
take
Joe,
on.
can you just start your question again, mate? We had the speaker off, so go for it.
Yeah, I'm Joe, recovered alcoholic. Yeah, no, Paul, that was an interesting take on it. I think my personal experience around it, when you talk about the mental malady, I think page 23 answers that for us, right? The main problem of the alcoholic centers in his mind, and it ties in with 44 and 45 as well, where we lack this power to overcome that malady. I think one of the things that you had hindered or is pertain to in regards to causes, conditions, and flaws and manifestations, we can reflect that.
Sorry,
lost
mate.
you.
We're losing volume here. Sorry about that, mate.
Yep.
Go for it.
There you go.
So in regards to what you were saying in the common manifestations and how they manifest, and tying back to page 60, is that first requirement, being convinced that any life run on self-will could hardly be a success. It doesn't say some life, it says any life. And I think when we get through we agnostics on 54, it ties in with 64. Because weren't we worshipers of such and such and such, and what a state of mental goose flesh. And so when we do look at those flaws, the common manifestations, they creep up on 64 at the bottom, and it says where were we sore our pocketbooks or our esteem and those things. So when those things are affected on a non-spiritual basis, my reaction to it will be of a self-centered idea, right? And that's how self shows up. My 4 and my take on it myself is the 4 is what you look like on a non-spiritual basis, and the absolute non-presence of any kind of belief other than self. What's your take on that?
Yeah. That's my take on it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Awesome.
The
Yeah.
whole idea is but it's, you are not doing self. There's selfing that implies that you're the one that's doing it. Yeah, so there's a trick in it. But yes, for me, the primary point of interest is the loss of interest in self. Yeah, because self obviously can't do that. Like we say in a lot of communities, self can't get out of self. So basically, that's describing the the frustration of trying to get out of self as self. So now most people are trying to get out of self as self, but one aspect of self is called Paul. And to that aspect, Paul, it makes complete sense to try to get out of self. But Paul, AKA self, can't get out of self. So this is the frustration. We're trying to get out of something that we're not in, really. Yeah. So, yes.
Right. Thanks, Joe.
I think that's why the inventory is important, to look at resentment as a resentment, not as yours. Yeah. Because if Stanley, a guy named Stanley, was manifesting through me as Paul, and every time a manifestation of Stanley came through, my claiming of it would be, these manifestations are mine, Paul's. I'm in the act of being identified as Stanley, obviously. Well, that's the diagnosis that we're offering. Yeah, the us is taking itself to be self. The us is taking it to be self. Yeah, yeah. It's lost its sense of us. Now it has a sense of self, a very strong one. And all the manifestations of self are called our manifestations. There's the little rub. Yeah. And hopefully we just put it out there. We're not saying anything. We're just putting it out there. And if the shoe fits, wear it. See what happens. Yeah.
Cheers, Joe. It's good to see you, mate.
Yeah, Joe. Thank you.
And like we're here, just to say to everyone, if you've never been here, we're here every Tuesday and every Thursday, same time, same bat channel. So please come along. And Paul has another couple of non-duality things on a Wednesday and a Saturday. All the details are available at zenbigslap.com. And look who we've got here, Paul. It's Ruby. Hey, Ruby. You want to unmute?
Hi, Han. Hi,
Hey,
Han.
hey.
I'm just
Ruby,
gonna
yes.
I'm gonna tell a bit of a story that happened today, and I'm gonna really, well, I'm already crying, but it has to do with the humility that you just spoke of. I went to we have a little neighborhood grocery store that I love here, and I got out of the car or the truck and I dropped all my shopping bags, picked those all up, got to the crosswalk, dropped all the bags that hold the vegetables, got in the grocery store, my hat fell off, cleaned off the basket to push, and my purse turned over and it went everywhere. And on the way coming into the store, I saw this family, and it was a gal with a baby on her hip and a beautiful little daughter and a little boy about 9 that reminded me of my oldest son, who's extremely sweet. And they came in right after that, and the mom looked at the little boy and she goes, "Would you help her?" And he dropped to the ground and he goes, "Here, let me help you with this." So he put the coins and he packed my bag the way I pack it. And he kept saying, "I'm so glad I was here to help you. And I hope you have blessings on this day. And here's your other pen. And I hope your day goes better." And then they got up and going out the door, he said, "Blessings on your day." And I said, "I've been blessed because I met your family." And he said, "That's such a lovely thing to say. And once again, I hope your day is blessed." And how it used to be, how that would have been just so humiliating, turned into this humbling thing. And on the way to the store, some kind of shift took place, and I went, and I never felt like that. And it was like, I don't know how I'm going to handle this, but I don't have to handle it by myself because of everything that you just said. And I can't. Thank you, Paul. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruby. Thank you very much.
Hey, Ruby, thanks very much. It's so good to hear you, and you've been coming here a long time, so thank you very much. And hearts with you. Noah, how are you? Asking you to unmute.
What's up, man?
Hey, man.
Yeah, I have been in the program since like March of last year. And it's been a lot of like coming in and out of the rooms, a lot of relapsing and recommitting and relapsing and recommitting. And what struck me about what you were talking about today and what you've mentioned a bunch of times is the willingness to be convinced thing. Like this whole process has really thrown a wrench in, you know, what were the creaky spokes of my belief in free will, you know, like it really, it's at a point where it really feels like, you know, I am just sitting back and watching different sets of conditioning kind of duke it out. You know, the process of becoming involved in this program has been a process of like deconstructing resistance or watching resistance be deconstructed, you know, to get to a point at which this system was open to the influence of Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, took causes and conditions reaching a breaking point, you know, where a certain guard was let down. And I don't really know if I had anything to do with that or if I continue to have anything to do with that. But the causes and conditions seem to be leading me in this direction. It's just, it's odd. It's an interesting, I mean, like, you know, they say you act your way into good thinking, and that is true. But I'm not always sure how to, because the mind desperately wants something to chew on. I'm not always sure how to think about the sense of agency in all of this, you know, and like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything really to say about it. I'm just going to keep showing up. So sorry for rambling. It's nice to see you. I
Nice
hope
to
you're
see
well.
you, Noah, and keep showing up. Yeah, because the thinking about something sort of is triggered by the about, which is you're being moved, and the system, not being the one that's moving you, is reacting. Yeah, because its whole story is that it's the mover, it's the shaker. Yet now you're being moved and shook, and it doesn't seem to be fitting its old plan and the old way it would present it. Yeah, so there's a new player in town, so to speak, and so the old player is getting a little worried. So they start to think about it, but before the thinking is that feeling that's provoking the thinking. Yeah, that feeling is, to me, the hand of that grace, so to speak. Yes, it doesn't come too much with thought, but it leaves a lot to think about. And a lot of the thinking about it will not be from the system it came from. It will be from self-centeredness. So after a while, you just give up the thoughts about grace and love and all that, and you just get moved by it. Yeah, really. It's why do I have to know so much? I mean, you know, I don't need to know the velocity of the wave and the angle. You know, I feel it when I'm on it. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to know its longitude and latitude, and it's a south swell 4 something west. You know, I just want to ride the wave, really, and I like that. Yeah, the thought system is pretty myopic. Yeah, it's not a very it may talk about the stars, but it never gets to the stars. I don't think it's essential, really. I feel most days go better when there's less thought about the day. Just show up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, they said in page 53, we went to it a lot. I think it's we agnostics. they talk about faith, and as they're talking about faith, they're talking about the counter, which is this abject faith in thoughts, yeah, the abject faith in reasoning. This is the essence of trusting the finite self. And when that starts to change, what you're relying on shifts, and you get shifted out of reliance on thought. In other words, you're not taking thought to be the final arbiter of the experience. Yeah, yeah. You're just really, you're there, experiencing. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thanks, Noah. So I'm not sure if we've got any more hands raised. I can see there's a few of our friends in the room who may have a question. Raul says, wow. So thanks for that, Raul. That's amazing. And Kaiser's in the room, and I know Kurt there. Kaiser, is there anything you'd like to add, mate? Anything you'd like to say? I'm asking you, I'm going to catch him on the hop here. Look.
I'm only ask for a coffee.
Yeah, I would ask for a coffee, and just thanks for everybody being here. I learn a lot from the questions and from Paul too. Yeah, thank you. I don't have anything to add. Sorry.
I've got a question, and I forgot how to raise my hand. So,
Ted, no worries, mate.
Ted,
Paul, how are you?
good.
I was going to try and make it up this weekend, but it didn't work out. So anyway,
I was going to try and leave this weekend, but it didn't work out.
Quick question, and it's about fear, about false evidence appearing real, and how that comes up for me. About 5 weeks ago, I went to the doctor's office, and I was just not feeling right. Long story short, I was having a heart attack and didn't know it. And so the next thing I know, he's calling the ambulance and taking me to the hospital. I just went in for a regular doctor's visit.
Yeah.
So, and that hasn't come out. But, I was in the ambulance, and it was kind of like, I just said whatever. And any fear that I had just left me. I had no fear whatsoever. An hour later, I'm on the operating table getting a bunch of stents put in me. And I'm good now. So everything turned out fine. I dodged a big bullet. But yet, I have an appointment with my attorney, my ex's attorney, and my ex tomorrow. And, Kurt's my sponsor, so I talk to him about this all the time. But I have all this fear, and I don't even know what the fear is about. I know it's from past experiences with her and all this stuff. But it amazes me that here I'm having a possible heart attack, and who knows what's going to happen. And I have no fear for that. But yet this stupid little appointment is kind of freaking me out. I'm a lot better than I used to be with that stuff. But still, it's just the two different types of fear, and how they arise in me just is kind of mind-boggling,
Yes. Well, look at, I used to see, I had an observation about the value system of the head, where if you're riding on an expensive bike and you're starting to slip and fall off the cliff, you try to save the bike more than you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always thought that was a strange, it was very revealing. So, and the thing too about the heart attack and stuff, mostly our fear is about something that actually hasn't happened. Yeah. When it's actually happening, it's usually you're pretty sober. Yeah. Because I've had a lot of that. And it's the head's trying to forecast something it is completely blind to, which is the future, provokes a lot of this anxiety. So you mostly have fear about something before that something ever occurs. So tomorrow when you walk in that room, you won't have probably fear, you'll be there,
Yeah.
So as we say in AA, if it's too much and you can't see through it, just ask that power to remove it. Or reconfigure it. And, and then when it shows up, because it will come like to the front door, then the side door, then the fucking back door, you know, the skylight, you know, just keep bringing it to 6 and 7. Yeah. Because this is going to break its back in a way. See, this isn't about daily maintenance of a forever situation. It eventually breaks the back of the reliance of self. So when some stuff comes up and the old fire truck comes that actually puts more gas on the fire, you're replacing that response with something of bringing it to the higher power, which is step 6 and 7. And when the habit gets in there, something gets broken. Another large chunk of self-reliance drops. It does, yeah. Because really a lot of the self-reliance is still happening moment to moment. We rely on our head first, and then we try to use the skillful means of recovery later. But in the process of growth in recovery, you're going to rely on the principles of the program first.
Mhm.
And maybe you won't even make the call to the mental fire station. Yes.
Right.
So there is a point where it breaks because there's a habit there. Yeah. There's an underlying habit we're in the habit of relying on self.
Yes.
And then that gets broken. And how does it get broken? One of the ways is through step 6 and 7. Instead of, recognizing something and then allowing it to be your response, instead of seeing it as foreign and, false evidence appearing real, that first condition is reliance on self, because reliance on self makes you blind to a lot of selfing. You're just taking it to be the way it is, and it ain't. It's an activity, and it can be redirected. So, yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
Best of luck to you, Ted. And
Thank
you've got
you.
a great sponsor there as well, mate. Well done on that. So
Yeah.
he's reasonable. He's okay. He's okay.
Oh.
So I think that's about it. I think we've no more hands. Any more before Paul says his goodbye? Anyone's got a question? Last chance. So.
No, I want to say goodbye to everyone.
Yeah, you want to say goodbye?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
adios. So.
But first, let's thank David. David was the one who brought this possibility to my head. Yeah. So.
Well, it's been.
And if you have any, if you're mad at me, be mad at him. Really, there's nothing to do with it.
Yeah. And I'll come in.
Oh, we're gonna get a picture.
They're going to get a picture of me again.
Ah.
Look at that.
Okay.
Just more than one, just in case, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it again, David. I don't know what happened yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Am I putting video?
I don't know.
I'm putting
Oh,
video.
did you? That's good.
All right.
All right,
Yes,
that's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
see what
So-
I've done. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's good. That'll be fine. So I just wanted to say it is very good to be here, and I'm not one of those who sort of goes on about emotional stuff, but I saw you on YouTube years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, and I've told this story a couple of times this weekend, and I heard you talk about the 12 steps, and when the whole Zoom lockdown thing happened, it was I just approached you. And I think I sent you an email and you ignored me. We ignored me. And then I think I hounded him a bit, and then he finally relented, and you agreed to do 2 weeks. And that 2 weeks has turned into 20 months or whatever. So it's been great. And I'm so, humbled to be part of it, because I know that it's helped so many people with 12-step stuff and finding something that helps them go on. So I want to thank you very much for everything.
Will.
It's been
Thank
an
you.
honor to
Yes.
be with you this weekend.
Yes.
So thank you. You want to say your goodbyes?
Yes, I
There
do.
you go. So
I can't see everyone.
Here, I'll
Let me
hold
see.
it. Here, hold on.
Yeah, I'll hold it here. I can hold it.
There you go.
So I just keep looking into
Just
the
keep looking, and
camera.
then there's
Hey,
a
Ted,
second
man.
page as well, right?
Ted, yeah, just remember, don't be in the outcome business. Yeah.
Yeah.
Show
no,
up. Yeah. See what happens.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah. We got Walter. Look at what happens. Walter just showed up, and Walter happened. Yeah, there he goes.
Thank you.
Nice to see you, Walter. I hope you can hear me. Yeah. We got Connor from Dublin.
Hey,
Can you
Ken.
hear me, Michael, Stacy? Yes? I don't know if they can hear me or not.
We can hear you, Paul.
All right, great.
Yes, you're coming through loud and clear.
Thank you. Randine, nice to see you. I can't really see you well, but nice to see you. We got Jacob from Seattle, fantastic. Steve from Germany. Yeah, we got Chris over there, Chris T. Nina, Nina, I had the privilege of meeting Nina, not Tina or Mina, but Nina this weekend. Thank you. Yeah. We got Mickey, the matriarch of Madeira. We got Michael Stacy. We got Stefan on having never left. Kaiser, pleasure to meet you, Kaiser. Yes. Ruby Rose, thank you for that joyous story, Ruby. Yeah. Oliver from Berlin, Amy from Seattle, Rick Rowe from Toronto. I can't see this one. Chris, I think it's Mammoth Lakes. Yes, there he is. Nice to see you, Chris. Joseph from France, Kurt Roman from Germany, Chris from Lexington, Kentucky. Always a pleasure. How do I go to the next page if there's any?
There's another page.
All right, I think some more came up. Well, oh, you gotta hit that thing.
You get that arrow
Yeah.
thing.
All right,
There you go. How's that? Is that working?
great. Oh, here's the yes. Oh, we
Yeah.
got Kristen. Nice to see Kristen. She's been here the whole trip. We got Paul from the UK. Nice to see you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Yep, see everyone else. I can't see some names, but hey, Sina from Sonoma, everyone, thank you so much. And it was a pleasure to see David today. And Noah, thank you, Noah. Yeah, always liked Noah when I met him. Yeah, I'm surprised that he's still alive, so it's great. Yeah. All right, see you guys.
All right, thanks,
Right,
Paul.
Paul. You can.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. It's good to see everyone.
Thank you, David, too.
It's very weird.
Thanks, David.
Like this.
Thanks, David. Good
Good on
job.
you.